question about that. Hey, Bill Morgan, how are you? Good to see you. Well, we are here today to talk a little bit about tax cuts, particularly income tax cuts, and there's just a couple things that I'd like to tell you. And I know there's some here that no matter how many times I say this, you're not going to agree with me, but that's okay, because I'm the one that has to deal with all these CEOs. And I can tell you that Ohio taxes are too high. We're in the top third of state and local income taxes. And, I went out fishing the other day, and I have one rule when I fish, and that is when I throw the line in the water, I don't want more than a minute to go by before I hook something. So I threw the line in, and Reggie, within 30 seconds, I had a walleye on there. But I also, I think, may have caught something else, and that's a company. When I was on the boat, I made a call and then got on land, and it's one thing to talk about economic incentives, but what's more important, frankly, than economic incentives is the overall business atmosphere in the state. I think we've been pretty successful. I mean, we're up close to 100,000 jobs, 94,000 jobs, somewhere around there, since January of 11. But what companies are looking for is certainty, and what they're looking for are low costs. And if you can offer them low cost, trained workers, and an environment where you have predictability, that's what they're really looking for. We also know that the engine of economic growth in our country is small business. And small businesses are paying the income tax. And the lower we can have that income tax, the more it's going to benefit small business, and the more jobs that get created. I was just down at this microbrewery down in Cincinnati, and the lady and her husband, a couple that started this microbrewery, and I looked at her and I said, what would you think if we lowered your income tax? And she started hyperventilating with the thought and said, how could that ever happen? Well, what we're proposing, of course, in our state is the fact that if we can, that we have an opportunity to cut that income tax. And we also, of course, have an industry that has low taxes. And they benefit from the low taxes by taking what they earn out of our state. And they take it to Oklahoma or Texas, and there they can cut their income tax because they got a good deal. And Ohio is missing out on this. So we are, I'm more optimistic now about this. I've been optimistic about severance tax and the income tax cut. I've been optimistic from the day we put it in. It's just a matter of time rather than it is a matter of if it's going to happen. There have been some discussions now with industry. They're beginning to realize that, let's get this thing settled. I mean, I'm not telling you it's going to happen tomorrow, but I'm optimistic about that. If you listen closely to people in the legislature, they want to look at it, they want to study it, they want to think about it, and frankly, there's been a lot of misinformation out there. And as the information becomes clearer and clearer, I'm more and more optimistic we will get this done. At the same time, I'd also tell you that just this whole message that Ohio is in an environment and has a way of being able to reduce taxes sends such a powerful message across the country. And frankly, in many respects, Gordon Gee was just telling me he was in Berlin and over in London, and those folks come to visit me. The ambassador from Germany just saw one of the London, one of the UK officials. The ability to continue to say that we are controlling government, not eliminating it, but having it focused, and at the same time reducing the cost of living in the state of Ohio is really terrific. The other thing is, if you talk about lower income taxes to our most successful entrepreneurs, you begin to lure them from Naples, Florida back to Cleveland and Columbus and Cincinnati, Ohio. And we need their energy, we need their charity, we need their ingenuity, we need all the things that the great entrepreneurs and job creators bring. One of the most important foundations of Ohio, and something, by the way, we're extremely concerned about and beginning to put a plan in place, are the situation that affects our farmers in the state of Ohio. Agriculture is such an important base in the state of Ohio. It's just one of the most significant foundations of what makes Ohio a strong state. And farmers, of course, are small business people. And boy, if there's anybody that would benefit from the fact that we can lower the income tax, it would be our small business farmers. And they really need a break, and not just a break, but the stronger they are, the stronger Ohio is. The stronger they are, the more revenue that generates into our coffers. And so folks, it's all about job creation. You remember we had, what, 89 cents in a rainy day fund. We've got, you know, nearly $500 million in a rainy day fund. Most of it coming from the fact that in some ways we've become more efficient, we've underspent, but in the other sense it's because we're seeing revenue driven by people that are creating jobs and people paying taxes. So I just think we have a great opportunity, and I wanted to let you know, and we've got Fred Dailey here today who's going to speak in just a few minutes. Fred was the director of the Ohio Department of Agriculture for 16 years. Fred did not believe in term limits for ag directors. And Fred's also, of course, owns, you know, he does everything. He's been a rodeo rider, he's a paratrooper, you know, decorated veteran, and he also raises cattle, and he also has some oil and gas holdings. So this is a guy who kind of does it all. He ran for Congress, and I said, Fred, how did that come out? And before he could answer, I said, well, you won, because you didn't have to go to Washington. So before we get to Fred Dailey, I'm going to let Dave Daniels say a few things about his view as the head of the Department of Agriculture.